Wanted to gather here today. Appreciate everyone coming. About 30 years ago, this month, the Illinois General Assembly was debating a bill that voters had supported in referendums on April 12th of 1983 to establish the Citizen Utility Board. And I was the person who helped organize the referendums to give the people and the consumers of Illinois a chance to vote in favor of taking on big utilities with an organization that they would run and fund called CUB, Citizen Utility Board. So I went and found my original CUB envelope. Are you fed up with soaring utility bills? Was the question 30 years ago, and I think it's the question today. And CUB, fight back. The whole idea is to make sure consumers, not only individual consumers, residential consumers, but also our businesses get a fair shake when it comes to utility bills. Utility costs for some of our citizens on fixed income, senior citizens, are one of the very largest parts of their budget. And that's true of just about every family of Illinois. And especially when it comes to electric bills, as we enter the summer, many people know firsthand what higher and higher soaring bills are about. And I think it's important, as Governor of Illinois, that I take a stand on behalf of consumers. And I think it's very important to make sure that we put the people of Illinois ahead of profits of big utility companies, like Commonwealth Edison and like Ameren, our downstate utility. Just this week, Commonwealth Edison is now asking for a $311 million rate hike, in addition to what they are trying to get through a piece of legislation that passed the General Assembly. As governor, I think it's important to say no to unfairness, and definitely say no to a process, an unfortunate process, that has become a very disturbing trend, where if utilities don't get something from the Illinois Commerce Commission, they run off to the legislature and do an end run around the Illinois Commerce Commission, which has been part of Illinois law for over 100 years. For a century, we've had a Commerce Commission made up of individuals who are well-versed in the matters of utilities to oversee and be the watchdogs of big utilities. We cannot allow big utilities to take over and run roughshod over families and businesses in our state. A good economy that creates jobs needs stable energy prices. And if the big utilities, in search of profits, are allowed to over and over again pass bills that take advantage of families and businesses, then the governor, that's me, we have to stop it. So today I'm going to take action on a bill that passed the General Assembly, and I think it's important on behalf of the consumers of Illinois that we take a stand and say no to unfair utility rate hikes. And that's exactly what this is. And I think it is important for all the consumers of Illinois to know that we have to band together in the best traditions of the Citizen Utility Board and say we're fed up with soaring utility rate hikes. We're not going to let the utilities run Illinois. It's time for the people to stand together and make sure that we have our voices heard. And that's why today I'm going to veto this bill that would raise utility rates on the people of Illinois. This is the veto message, and it's pretty straightforward and clear. It makes sure that the people of our state know that we are going to come together and work together to stop this bill from passage. And there's only one way to do it, and that's with a veto stamp. And that's what I have here. We have to exercise our vetoes with discretion, but when necessary, I am prepared to act on behalf of protecting the consumers of Illinois. So that's what we're going to do right now. glad to answer any questions you might have. I am a big believer and supporter of the so-called smart grid to improve the electric infrastructure of not only Commonwealth Edison, but also Ameren all across our state. That's what these companies should be doing. They've received very large rate increases in the past from the people of Illinois, the consumers, to invest in their infrastructure, their grid. It's important that they do that. But to have a process of automatic rate hikes is the wrong way to go. The Illinois Commerce Commission, for more than a century, has provided oversight for the public, for the consumers of Illinois, to make sure that the utility companies, the big utilities, those monopolies, are not overreaching and taking advantage of consumers and putting things in their rate hikes that are improper. I think we need to have that kind of tough oversight to protect the public, to make sure that we aren't paying more than we should. The utilities, every time now that they get an adverse decision from the Illinois Commerce Commission, they run off to the legislature and try and overrule it. This isn't healthy at all. For more than 100 years, we've had regulators, folks who understand the issues, protect the public, protect consumers. To see if this Commonwealth Edison rate increase that they're proposing would raise the rates on consumers in our state in the coming year by $5 or $6 a month. Well, that's a lot of money for a lot of people who live from paycheck to paycheck. And that's why we have an Illinois Commerce Commission. That's why we have the Citizen Utility Board. And that's why we have a governor. And the governor's job is to make sure that the public is protected against big utility companies trying to take advantage. Well, I think that would be a bad idea for the jobs of Illinois, for the consumers of Illinois. Stable energy prices are one of the best ways to attract new business and keep jobs. To allow the big utility companies to raise their hand and just raise their rates by hundreds of millions of dollars automatically without oversight by the people of Illinois, it's not a healthy thing. The Illinois Commerce Commission is appointed by me, those members, to protect the public. And, if the utilities don't like it, then they ought to understand that that's what democracy is all about. That's why we have a Citizen Utility Board, and that's why we've got to band together to support what I've just done, which is veto this bill. You raise utility rates in Illinois by hundreds of millions of dollars. That is not a prescription for creating jobs or economic growth in our state. The point of the matter is utilities have been getting rate increases and rates from both families and businesses all across Illinois for decades. They should use those resources to invest in a better grid that is smarter. That they don't need to have an automatic rate increase system set up to do what they're supposed to do already under law. That's why this is very disturbing, this trend of whenever the Illinois Commerce Commission says stop, you're overreaching, the utilities do an end around and try and get the rate increase through the legislature. Not a healthy process at all. This is something we should say no to. Well, they did it a little while ago. The original bill that was passed, I vetoed that because I was opposed to the automatic rate increases, and they went to the legislature again. They went for the first time, and then they went back. And I suppose they will try to override this veto. But I think we have to see the pattern here. What's going on is the utilities don't want to listen to the Illinois Commerce Commission that is set up to protect the public in this very complex area. There's no question there are highly technical issues, and I've appointed good men and women to the State Commerce Commission for the very purpose of protecting families and businesses from overreaching and rate increases that are unjustified by big utility companies. Utilities are monopolies. They take our rates and they use that money to hire lawyers and accountants and engineers to represent their point of view. And they hire a lot of lobbyists, too. Well, we've got to have some process that makes sure the public is protected. That's the Illinois Commerce Commission and its staff. That's the Citizen Utility Board and its team. And it's also the governor of Illinois. That's why, as governor of Illinois, I think it's very important to take a stand on this disturbing pattern of utilities trying to get rate increases directly from the legislature rather than proving it up through the Illinois Commerce Commission. Well, if they vote to override, they're voting to raise rates on the people of Illinois when it comes to their electric utilities, not only in the Commonwealth Edison territory, but our whole state, because this includes Ameren, our largest downstate utility. And it's time for the consumers to take a stand here and join with me and say, absolutely not. We are not going to allow big utilities to run roughshod over everyday people. It's hard for one person who's working and raising a family to take on Commonwealth Edison. That's what's my job. As the governor of Illinois, I want to make sure that the public is not taken advantage of, and that's why I vetoed this bill. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.